It's pretty obvious that every crocheter needs to have yarn and crochet hooks. But what else should every crocheter have? Well, in my opinion, everyone should have a pair of these, a spring-loaded scissors, so that once you've made your cut, it'll quickly snap back into shape, so you can make the next cut. You also will need to have an assortment of needles. Of course, a wide-eyed tapestry needle will help when you're weaving in ends. You also can have one that's got a smaller eye on it if you're trying to do embroidery or finishing. And when you're trying to position components for assembly, something like this with a very large head for just quickly putting in and then moving around is quite helpful. And of course you're going to need to have a nice little pin cushion to pin that stuff to. You should also consider having one of these. You're going to want to have, this has a hook gauge, so it'll tell you what size your hook is if you ever happen to wear off the actual millimeter size or the American system with the letters. It also has on it some handy rulers for measuring your swatches. I find also that sometimes, and some people laugh at this, a good handy pair of pliers comes well into use when you're trying to pull a stubborn thread through something when you're doing finishing work. If you're working on an afghan that never seems to end, good old stitch marker that you can attach on a hook and count your rows as you go will help you from making mistakes. This guy, a little bit unusual. This is actually used for stuffing toys, so this will help you move the stuffing around inside of arms. It's actually a dolls maker tool. If you have sensitive fingers, having a leather finger guard or a more traditional thimble will help prevent your fingers from getting raw if you're doing a lot of sewing. Of course, when you're sewing, you're going to need to have an assortment of thread colors and possibly embroidery floss for adding your faces or smiles onto various toys. Should have mentioned these ones a little sooner in the list, but stitch markers are very, very important. And for crochet, you're going to want to have the locking ones that are like safety pins so that you can put them on and off the stitches because you don't want them to be permanently attached. You're going to want to have a measuring tape, especially if you're doing garments. You're going to want to consistently check that the sizes you're making are in fact going to fit your body. If you ever use latch hooking or want to create a pom-pom to help finish a project, maybe add a tail to a bunny or a beard on a dog, then I find that actually a pom-pom maker like this will help you make your strands of yarn or of course the pom-pom to do so. If you do a lot of traveling, having a pair of these foldable traveling scissors will prevent you from accidentally poking yourself. Believe me, it happens. And of course, you're going to need something that you can fit all of this stuff in. This one is quite small, but it can be expanded, which is a nice feature. And of course, having a larger bag as well, where you can put all your yarn and your projects on the go with you is great as well. So those are a few tools that I would recommend that every crocheter have at hand.